Jeff's Superscript is brought to you by Black Cat Comics and Collectibles, in my opinion, the best comic shop and clubhouse on the internet. Follow them at Black Cat Burbank on Instagram and join their claim sales on Tuesdays for new books and Fridays for back issues. And don't forget to ask about joining their Stray Cats Club for special perks.
Hi, I'm Jeff, and welcome to another one of my videos where I take a look at all the new comic books coming out on either February 16th or 17th, 2021, and I ask myself the question, what one new comic book would I buy this week if I could buy just one book? Alright, so I owe you guys some explanations about my picks from the past 2 weeks, so let's go ahead and get that out of the way right here and now. First, my pick from 2 weeks ago was Fear Case, number 1. And the question remains, was that a good pick? And my answer is yes. Yes, in my opinion it was. I actually really enjoyed it. In fact, I enjoyed it more than I had expected to enjoy it. I was pleasantly surprised when I started reading it, and I recognized that the art was from another book, and the artist did another book that I liked a lot from a few months ago called King of Nowhere. So I was like, oh, I like this art. This is a good start. Then the story really kind of got me. It grabbed me. It brought me in. You know, in a lot of ways, it reminds me of Department of Truth. Possibly in too many ways. It's very similar in a lot of ways to Department of Truth, but it is its own thing, and I like it. And so I'm all in on it. I am looking forward to reading all of it. I hope that you picked it up. In fact, I was in a comic book shop yesterday that still had copies of it on the shelf. I was blown away that was still available on the shelf. So it might be one that if you haven't gone out and picked up yet, I might suggest you go and pick it up right away. The next book I want to mention to you is last week's pick, and that was Future State Teen Titans number 2. Now the question is, was that a good pick? I don't know. I don't know because my comic book shop was shorted this book. This is twice now that Lunar has shorted my comic book shop on books, specifically Teen Titan books. So I never read issue number 1, and now I'll never get issue number 2. Thank you very much, Lunar. It's a bit frustrating in case you couldn't tell. I'm going to have to buy it on eBay, I'll probably wait a week or two, maybe more, see if it cools down. It's doing okay on eBay. It's going for about $10 plus shipping on eBay right now, which is it's not going crazy, but it's doing pretty well. It's my understanding that they did not reveal who Red X is in Teen Titans Future State issue number 2, but it was his first full appearance. It seems like Red X is a character that is here to stay, that's going to be part of the DC universe and is already kind of a fan favorite. So it might be a good idea for me to actually hunt down his first full appearance in Future State Teen Titans 2, and even though it might cost me a few extra dollars on eBay. That being said, at some point, if they reveal his true identity, which is probably going to happen at some point in Teen Titans Academy, which I mentioned in my FOC video that I put out earlier this week. I'll put a card for it up there. If you haven't checked that out yet, you might want to check it out before the end of the weekend. It's probably going to reveal his true identity there. But then at that point, people aren't going to be so interested in Future State Teen Titans number 2 because it's not going to be the first appearance of that character. They're going to go back to the first appearance of his true identity. So we'll see how that plays out eventually. But it's still a good book to have in your collection. And like I said, I might still look for it. All right, let's move forward with this week's books. First off, I'm going to start off by talking about my cover pick for the week. I have 4 contenders. The first one I want to mention comes from Gwenom vs. Carnage, number 1, the second printing. This is by Inyuk Lee, and this looks like it's Inyuk Lee did a lot of these type of ideas of like the symbiote, suit kind of with tentacles kind of wrapping around a character. Did it with Gwen in issue number 1. Now it looks like he's doing it here with MJ. And I just like it. I like Inyuk Lee a lot. I like this image a lot. It's doing a lot for me in a lot of different ways. It's on my list of comics covers that I like this week. The next one I want to mention to you, that was one that I like, is from X-Men Legends, and it is this variant done by Patrick Gleason. It is the Stormbreakers variant. Patrick Gleason is on fire right now with that Spider-Man cover he did for Spider-Man 55 and the billion different homages that seem to be coming out from it. But I just like this very much. Sometimes I don't like when the same character is on one cover twice, like they have done here with Cyclops. But just the energy and the way they depicted their powers, and it looks almost like an old school kind of like movie poster in a way. It's just working for me on a lot of levels, and I like it, so I wanted to bring it up. The next one I want to mention to you is Haha number 2. This is the variant cover by Martin Simmons. Martin Simmons, you've heard me mention very much from Department of Truth. He's the artist on that. I like him a lot on that title. He is 50-50 in the storytelling department with James Tynion for me on that book. I like him a lot, and I'm really hardcore warming up to his art. And he's got the perfect combination of like amazing art that I just don't want to look away from, and like it makes me like uneasy and uncomfortable, and I want to look away at the same time. I think I've mentioned that before. And this cover of Haha number 2 is no exception. I am a little triggered though that Frankie's Comics has put out a virgin version of this cover for $20. I kind of hate it when they do that. I wish they'd just get their own art and let the cover art for the consumer be the cover art, and they can just, if they want to do a store exclusive, they can, hire an artist to do something. Don't take, a B cover, wipe away the trade dress, charge 4 times the amount, 5 times the amount for it, and then now that's the collectible version of that if one of them ends up being collectible. Anyways, I digress. I think it's a great cover and something I would consider picking up for Frankie's if I wasn't already buying so many store exclusives more than I should. The last book, which is my cover pick of the week that I want to mention to you, is from Miles Morales, Spider-Man number 23, with art done by Tauren Clark. Now, this cover, I don't know. It's pretty simple and straightforward. It's really close up. It's the fist, it's the face, it's the punch. But I like it so much. I even like the fact that the background is all blown out to white. It kind of reminds me about what would happen if you got punched hard enough in the face, how everything would just go like with a flash of light. And just the expression and just the broken mask, and his eye looks like it's going to be not good for a while. There's just an energy and a story that's being told in this cover. I think it's really well executed in all ways. It's not artistically the most mind-blowing cover that we've ever seen, but it is doing its job, and it's doing its job really well, and I really, really like it. And so that's why Miles Morales Spider-Man number 23 is my cover pick for this week. All right, let's get into the books that we're going to talk about this week. And as usual, I present these books by way of League of Comic Geeks, which puts them in the order of how many people have put them on their pull lists from the highest to the lowest. Well, I'm going to present them from the lowest to the highest. So the first book that I say has the lowest amount of interest or the lowest amount of pulls by people using League of Comic Geeks. And the last one will be the highest amount. So the first I want to mention to you the book that comes out this week. It's called Black Cotton number 1. It's from Scout Comics. It says, set in an alternative reality where the social order of white and black is reversed, an elitist family, the Cottons, are rocked by a tragic shooting that begins to unravel long-standing family secrets that could not only destroy the family, but also divide the fragile social climate of the world. All right, well, it's a very socially conscious title. I'm not particularly interested in it, but I wanted to put it on your radar. This next one that I want to mention to you is called Hollow Heart. It's from Vault Comics. It says, Al used to be human. Now he's a jumble of organs in a biosuit. Al is also in tremendous pain and has been for a very long time. Hope arrives in the form of Mateo, a mechanist brought in to work on Al's suit. Mateo sees LK in a way no one ever has. And what's more, Mateo offers Al an escape. Hollow Hearts reunites tech creators Paul Allor and Paul Tucker for a queer monster love story about the choices we make between giving our loved one what they want and what we think they need. This one is oddly interesting to me, and I do have it on my pulls for the week. I don't know if it's the cover art and the different covers that they're presenting, or just the concept in general, but something of it I find really interesting and curious. I'm going to check out issue number 1 and see if it's something that I want to go with. The next book I want to mention to you is a book called Shadow Doctor from Aftershock Comics. It's number 1. It says, years in the making, this is the true story of writer Peter Calloway's grandfather, Nathaniel Calloway, a black man who graduated from medical school in the early 1930s, unable to get work in any Chicago hospitals because he was black, and unable to secure a loan from a bank to start his own practice because he was black. He turned to another source of money in Prohibition-era Chicago, the Mafia, run by none other than Al Capone. As Calloway himself says, on the one hand, his story represents the promise of America. On the other hand, it shows the worst of it. Well, as an interesting, real, true story in a comic book form, it could be cool and maybe quite appropriate for Black History Month, which we're in the middle of right now. So maybe something you want to check out in that theme. The next book I want to mention to you is called Black Friday, number 1, from Scout Comics. It says, it's a Caravan imprint. Black Friday is the biggest shopping day of the year. Millions of Americans pack the aisles of retail outlets all over the country battling for the best bargains, while an unlucky cleanup crew deals with the aftermath of the latest Black Friday frenzy. They discover that years of pent-up negative energy has released something very evil and dark into their superstore, which is just the way corporate wanted it. All right, well, it sounds a little like horror-y and silly all at the same time. There could be a lot of fun in that. If that sounds like something that could be interesting to you, I recommend you check out Black Friday. The next book that comes out this week that I want to bring to your attention is another new one. It's Savage number 1. This is from Valiant. It says, from the mad minds of international superstar Max Benes and powerhouse artist Nathan Stockman comes the craziest action book of 2020. Even though it's 2021, maybe it's been pushed. Teen heartthrob, feral social icon, dinosaur hunter. Born and raised on an uncharted island full of prehistoric dangers, Kevin Sauvage has a taste of home when a mutant dino threat invades England. Okay, sounds pretty ridiculous. I'm not so interested, but it does come out this week. Maybe you are, no judgment. Let me know if you checked it out and you loved it down in the comments. The next book I want to mention to you is The Final Witness, number 1 from Valiant. It says, Ray Fawkes and Jeremy Hahn ignite a chilling new crime noir mystery. A superpowered serial killer is terrorizing San Francisco, but they're no Zodiac, they're worse. The detective, the reporter, the new superhero in town. Who will be the final witness? Apparently it's a noir mystery. If you're into a crime noir mystery with some superhero leanings, might be one that you consider checking out this week. Another new one, I like to show you the new ones, you know that, is Young Hellboy, The Hidden Land, number 1 from Dark Horse Comics. It says, stranded on a strange island after a mishap on their way to a South American dig site, Hellboy and Professor Brutalholm are confronted by all manner of monsters. But even when the stranger who rescues them turns out to be one of Hellboy's heroes, they aren't as safe as they think they are. Join Hellboy creator Mike Mignola as he teams with writer Tom Snigowski, artist Craig Rousseau, and colorist Dave Stewart to bring you a tale of Hellboy's childhood. All right. I have to admit, I'm not the biggest Hellboy fan, but if I was a Hellboy fan at all, I might be interested in some stories about Hellboy's childhood and the adventures that he went on as a kid. There has to be some fun stuff in there, and maybe this is the beginning of it, something you might want to consider checking out. The next book I want to mention to you is Truth and Justice, number 1 from DC Comics. It says Vixen takes center stage in the debut issue of this new Team Up series. Mari McCabe is many things: superhero, model, activist. But can she add God Killer to the list? Vixen teams up with Dr. Mist and Impala of the Global Guardians to face down an ancient deity that's taken over the body of a scientist investigating powerful magical artifacts. Vixen will need to dig deep and use all the abilities in the animal kingdom to face down this powerful primeval threat. Well, I must admit to you, Vixen is not a character that I know very much about, which maybe is exactly why she needs to be front and center in this new book, Truth and Justice. Maybe she needs a little bit of a spotlight shined on her. If you're interested in checking out some story with her at the front and center, this is absolutely going to be the book for you. The next book I want to mention to you is Haha, number 2, coming out this week from Image Comics. It says this one is called, as we know, Haha is it's an anthology similar to Ice Cream Man. It tells a different story each issue. This issue, it's called Rudolph on the Road to Funville. Every boy and girl needs a mama like a puppy needs a bowl. The Funny Sad Clown series for a funny sad clown world continues with a mother-daughter road trip illustrated by Zoe Thorogood. You know what? I liked Haha 1. And I am going to go through the entire series. So I'm looking forward to reading this. It's going to be creepy and uncomfortable, and I'm looking forward to that for some reason. The next book I want to mention to you is The Immortal Hulk, Flatline, number 1 from Marvel Comics. I believe this is a one-shot. It says one creator, one Hulk, one superstar story. Declan Shalvey writes and draws an Immortal Hulk tale that gets to the heart of Gamma. Every morning, Bruce Banner wakes up in a new place. The Hulk is trying to tell him something. But Bruce has had enough of his green-veined alters. When a new Gamma-powered villain shows up in a small New Mexico town, Bruce is forced to confront the source of his anger. And it's not what you expect. Don't miss an extraordinary tale from one of the industry's top talents. Well, the Immortal Hulk series is coming to an end. It's going to be ending with issue number 50, so it seems like they're throwing in a little one-shot kind of complement to the ongoing series, I guess, before it gets to the end. If you're a big fan of Immortal Hulk, you might consider checking it out, but the fact that it's not written by Al Ewing, maybe it's a little bit less interesting. But, of course, if you're a diehard Immortal Hulk fan, you're going to pick it up, so check it out if you are. The next book I want to mention to you is X-Men Legends number 1 from Marvel Comics. It says, all new tales starring your favorite X-Men, spawning classic eras. Break out the yellows and blues, fire up the danger room, and snap on your pouches as legendary X-writers return to classic eras of the mutant superheroes in all new, in-continuity stories set during their fan-favorite runs. Fabian Nicenzia kicks off the series with a special saga of Cyclops and Havoc as the Shi'ar return to Earth in search of the Forsaken One. But what secret will the Summers brothers uncover? And how will this revelation change what you thought you knew about the X-Men? Get ready for a story decades in the making. And come back each month as we dive deeper to expand the X-Men mythos. Welcome back, Legends. Hope you survive the experience. Okay, so I am a big, big X-Men fan, and I am especially a big X-Men fan of this era of the X-Men. So I am absolutely excited and interested in this book. What gives me pause is that it's not written by Chris Claremont, who wrote all of these books and was basically responsible for all of its greatness. Now, I don't know much about this Fabian Nicizia, Nicieza, but he's doing the first 2 issues. And then I guess what's going to happen is they're going to trade off. They're going to switch writers and artists maybe every 2 issues, because I know the 3rd issue is done by Louise Simonson and her husband Walt. So and they're probably going to do 2. But until I see the name Chris Claremont in the credits writing one of these, I'm going to be a little bit suspect. So I'm going to read this. I'm excited to read it. I'm looking forward to reading it, but I am cautious, and I just hope that they're not going to mess with in-continuity stories. They're not going to mess with fantastic work already accomplished by Chris Claremont, and hopefully we will see his name writing one of these very, very, very soon. The next book I want to mention to you is Stillwater, number 6. This is the end of the first story arc. I read issue number 5 recently, and I was like, Stillwater is so good. I don't hear anybody talking about Stillwater. It is really panning out. I am really enjoying it. I kind of second guessed the concept of a town where nobody can die. I was like, well, what's the conflict? What's going on there? Boy, howdy is there conflict. And boy, is there a lot going on there. Chip Zdarsky is doing an amazing job with this book. I like it a lot. If you are not already picking up Stillwater, I highly recommend that you pick it up. It's really, really good. Next, I'm going to go through a few books that are coming out this week that are coming out within issue number 2. We had a lot of issue number 1s several weeks ago, and so, of course, following number 1, yes, that's right, comes number 2. So, first I want to mention from the number 2s that are coming out this week, we have Future State Shazam, number 2. We have Planet of the Symbiotes, number 2, a King in Black tie-in. We have Future State Catwoman, number 2. We have Future State Superman, Worlds of War, number 2. We have Future State Immortal Wonder Woman, number 2. Quick thing about Immortal Wonder Woman. I read issue number 1. I'm not going to pick up issue number 2. I was most interested in Jen Bartel's interior artwork in issue number 1. And frankly, it came across a little, I don't know, the word I want to use, her art is generally so good. I'm a big fan of hers. But it came across a little like juvenile, a little kind of like childish or cartoonish in issue number 1. It's possible that her work is better when she has more time to spend on details than when she's drawing an entire book. I was a little disappointed, and her stock dropped just a little bit for me. Still a fantastic artist, and I'm looking forward to her future work, but I'm not going to keep going with Immortal Wonder Woman based off of the interior art she did. Sorry, Jen. Another number 2 that comes out is Future State Nightwing, number 2. And then kind of the big daddy of number 2s that comes out this week is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Ronin, number 2. The description says, secrets are revealed as we begin to discover what happened in the past to lead to this nightmarish future. The Ronin meets an unexpected new ally, but the Foot Clan begins an exhaustive sweep of the bottom to find the vengeful mutant. And what role does Baxter Stockman play? I have to admit, I have a copy of the first print of Last Ronin number 1. I haven't read it. And I've heard that it's a really good read. Now, why haven't I read it? I'm afraid to. Those prestige books, you open them up too much, and it damages them. Those prestige books are so flat and so tight, the spine on them, and then you have to open them up in order to read what's inside the book towards the middle of the spine, at least just a little bit, and they don't quite sit the same way ever again. So if I ever wanted to get it graded, I'd probably have to get it pressed, and people could say, like, oh, Jeff, just put it in a bag with a couple of boards and put a bunch of weight on it, it'll work out. Maybe, but I don't know why I care so much, because everybody who bought that book seems to be sending it to CGC. So there's going to be a million of them graded at a 9.8 or maybe even higher. I don't know why I don't just read it and enjoy it. And possibly I'll pick up a second print, but at a $9 book, I'm not really like running out to pick up a second print of something just to have a reader version of it. I don't know. I'm torn up. I want to read it, and I don't want to read it all at the same time. But I'm going to pick up issue number 2. Will I read it? Will I not read it? I don't know. It's too much pressure. But I am going to pick it up, and I'm going to read it at some point. I'm going to read it. I'm going to figure out a way. I'll get a second print. I'll borrow somebody else's second print. I will make it happen. I promise. Because I've heard that not only is it highly collectible, that it is a good read. So issue number 2 comes out this week. If you picked up issue number 1, make sure you have that ready to go pick up as well. The next book I want to mention to you is Once and Future number 16. All I'm going to say about this is that I like it a lot. And if you're a fan of British literature, you're going to really love Once and Future. It's been out for almost over a year now. And if you're not on board with Once and Future at this point, you're probably not going to jump on. But it is really good. Like, I went out and I picked up like the first 13 or 14 issues because I could find them in an afternoon sitting on shelves at comic book stores. They're out there and they're readily available. And it's a fun, entertaining, solid read. Something you might want to consider picking up. Then Future State, something else I want to mention is Future State, The Next Batman, number 4 comes out this week. That'll be the end of Future State, The Next Batman. I'm catching up a lot on my books, but there's certain runs of books that I haven't even begun yet because I want to read them all back to back to back to back to back. One of them is Future State. I haven't read any of these yet, but I am going to get all 4, and at some point I will sit down and I will read all 4 back to back to back to back to back. If you've been reading Future State, The Next Batman, let me know what you've been thinking about it down in the comments. Should I hurry up and put that high on my list of books to catch up on, or should I just take my time and get to it eventually? All right, folks, we're in the home stretch, and we are going to kind of sort of finish up today's video by going to one of our features that we haven't had in a few weeks, and we are going to see the return of Kate's Corner. Yes, Kate's Corner is back again this week, and it's back with 2 books from Donny Cates. First one I want to mention to you is Thor number 12. I am a big fan of this Thor run. I like it a lot. I've mentioned this before. I like Donny Cates, and I wasn't a big fan of Thor before, and now I am a big fan of Thor. And this whole Donald Blake storyline has been really, really cool and creepy and kind of got me a bit on the edge of my seat wondering what's going to happen next. And, I'm intrigued. And this one is going to be no exception. Mr. Donald Blake is going to be facing off versus Valkyrie Jane Foster here. They're going to have it out a bit. I'm very interested to see how that fight turns out. I'm a little concerned for Jane. She can handle herself in a fight, but Donald Blake has proven to be close to unstoppable. It looks like it's going to take a Thor to stop him, so how is Jane Foster going to handle him? I don't know, but it's going to be entertaining to read, so I'm looking forward to checking that out. But all of that brings me to my pick this week for the book that I would buy if I could buy just one book. And that book this week is King in Black number 4. Now I say it like that because this is, I believe, the 3rd time I've picked King in Black as my just one book pick of this week. I picked issue number 1, I believe I picked issue number 2, and now I'm picking issue number 4. This is a purely personal pick for me. This week, there was last week, picking Future State Teen Titans number 2 for me was a clear spec pick. It was like, this is the book to spec on as far as I can tell based off of this week's list of new books. Buy that one. This week, didn't have a book that necessarily stood out and jumped out at me as like the spec choice of the week. So I had to think to myself, which book am I most excited about reading? Which story am I the most interested in finding out what happens next? Which book, when I have all of these books, ready to go, am I going to be most interested in reading first? Well, it was either going to be Thor number 12 for me, or it was going to be King in Black number 4. And I chose King in Black number 4 because I'm still like, what's going to happen? How are they going to defeat this guy? Yes, if you've been paying attention to this video this whole time, I've had the first appearance of Null sitting here next to me, so you probably could have guessed what my pick was going to be this week. But although a lot of the story of King in Black is not really featuring Null directly very much, I mean, issue number 3 was pretty crazy. I mean, Thor gave him a beating, but he was just kind of like, I'm cool, like, ow, I'm good. I'm really curious about how King in Black is going to play out. I know that Donny Cates has been building to this for years. And then, I don't want to give too much away, but there was the appearance of a character at the end of King in Black #3, and it's like, man, it's just like the cool just keeps on coming. It's like the Marvel Universe has to throw everything it's got at null, and it's just boom, boom, boom. Just the stakes and the levels just keep getting higher and higher and higher. So I am just like most pumped and most excited to see, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next. And let's face facts, that kind of pumped feeling, that kind of excitement is why we read comic books. It's why we got into comic books. I find, especially superhero comic books like these. So, like I said, when I was looking over all of this week's books and asking myself, which book would I buy if I could buy just one book? I could just take one book home. Which is the one I would take? I can only take one. For me, because of all the excitement that I have and interest in the story and finding out what's going to happen, it's King in Black #4. All right, guys. I know I've been picking a lot of King in Black, but Donny Cates is really good, and I'm not sorry about it. But if you think I should be, let me know down in the comments, As I've mentioned before, I respond to every single comment that's left for me. So if you have any questions, if you have any comments, suggestions about, just thoughts, anything, put it down in the comments. I'd love to talk to you about it. If you like this video and you appreciate this content, man, give it a like. Frankly, you know what, guys? I'm not getting enough likes from you guys. I'm going to put it out there. Some of you are giving me likes very regularly, and I appreciate it. But a lot of you are watching on a regular basis, and that's fantastic. Just go the extra step and hit the like button. I know, that's immediate dislike when someone starts begging for likes, but come on, do it. As in addition, if this is the first one of my videos that you're watching, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching it all the way to the end. I invite you to hit the subscribe guy right here, and of course, hit the notification bell so you're informed when I post new content. As always, thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.